Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. So we are waiting for our fearless leader, Michael Anderle. He is not here, so we're going to carry on. And, you know, Brit in the room, just going to deal with it. So I think we're just going to start by saying who we are. And we're going to introduce ourselves. We're just going to say a couple of words, a short introduction. John. Wait, first of all, I'm just going to say John Truby, hardcore craft, guy, fantastic, been on my podcast. Who's read any of John Truby's books? Yes. Okay, can we just say first, we love you, John Truby. and yes, before it gets violent, we love you. Don't take any of this personally. Okay, good. So would you like to introduce yourself, John? Mike.
Please don't take what I say personally either, because this is all for trying to help writers. I'm John Truby. I've been writing and teaching story and coaching writers for over 30 years. That's code for a lot longer than that, but I'm not going to tell you how much longer. But I have been coming here for many years because I think this is a fantastic conference that helps writers, and it promotes what I think writing is all about, which is being a writing entrepreneur.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. Who's got, crash from lunch, right? The carb crash? I haven't eaten yet, so I'm still just manic. I'm author Elizabeth Ann West. I have been publishing fiction since 2011. I'm an OG, back when we were formatting ebooks with HTML. Y'all didn't have Vellum or anything like that. I'm also an author educator since about 2018. And in 2021, I learned I had a special talent that I am fluent in robot. So I published my first book with artificial intelligence in December of 2021. Had a wonderful experience with working with Pseudowrite for a couple of months, being their community manager, and now I run the Future Fiction Academy, which is a consortium of authors, an educational school to help authors really bring AI into their workflows, into their creative workflows, and we have our own prompting software called Rexy. So that's a little bit about me.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Melle Amade Melkumian. I've been a writer for a long time, 30 years. I started in opera and then in theater and then in screenplays, and then I moved on into writing books, and I've been publishing since 2016. And about a year ago, I started working with Jamie Cullican, who's also a published author. She runs Dragon Realm Press, and we started a company called AI4CES, and we launched the first AI for Authors course to help teach authors how they can use AI in their writing and publishing business. Today we serve authors, corporations, and educators.
And I am Joanna Penn, and I write fiction as JF Penn, and you may have heard me on such shows as the Creative Penn podcast. I first started talking about AI for authors in 2016, and have copped a lot of hate over the years. So I'm just so happy that now we can talk about it without getting completely destroyed, and very, very excited about the possibilities. As Michael said earlier, now he's here. That this is the most creative, amazing time. I almost gave up this industry a couple of years ago. I was so bored. And now it literally is the most exciting time to be an author. And I know we say that often, but now this really is. This really is. So, Michael, now you're here. Do you want to introduce yourself?
All right, there we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Anderle. And I heard a little bit about what's going on and just, the representation. Hopefully the hate isn't so much as it was. I can see in April it was 110%. But, we are in a change. Good, bad, or indifferent, we're in a change. And we're all going to come at it with different attitudes, and we're hopefully going to have civil discourse of what's going on, and we'll figure out what needs to be. And I'm so glad that Joanna, who actually when we talked in April, she was just going to close her little turtle shell and go away. And I think, we had a conversation with Dan Wood, and she got excited. She goes, you know what? I might come out of my turtle shell, and that's a literal comment. She probably has a turtle shell, and come to Vegas if we can talk about AI. Is that fair?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Totally. Like, we really bonded. There's a lot more drink at 20Books Seville. But no, I mean, we did. We talked about it, and we felt like this year was the year when we can actually talk about this publicly. And yeah, I mean, yeah. So anyway, you're chairing. I started chairing, but now you're chairing.
Oh, damn it. I thought if I was just a few minutes late, they would switch it. Okay, so coming at this, let's actually talk a little bit. I would like each person, just fairly succinctly, what's your position, what's your major emotional desire, why? Because I think that a lot of times some of it could be logical, some of it is emotional. And I just want to be fair to everyone. What's my piece? And I'll get to that, and it could be a little ugly, but we'll go with that. Mr. Truby, here you go.
Thanks, Michael. I am very happy to be here, even though I am amongst those who I'm sure quite strongly disagree with me. I think that I've been doing this for over 30 years.
What's this?
This is writing, working with writers, helping writers, coaching writers. Okay. And I believe there is no greater existential threat to what we do than AI. I think it's that serious. And it's not an existential threat because of what it will do to us. It's what it cannot do, but we think it will do. Therefore, we will go down a rabbit hole, and a lot of us won't get out. And I have three main arguments against it, which I won't go into detail here. And whenever there's time, I would like to be more detailed about it. I have a moral problem with it. I believe there's a problem in terms of self-interest. That is, it's actually against your advantage. And I have a financial problem with it. I think all three of those are strong reasons why this AI, and I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody, I think it is a drug. It is one of the most dangerous drugs that a fiction writer can use. And if you get into it, you're going to have tough trouble. It's like, oh, I'll just do a little bit. I'll just do it on my premise, right? Well, characters are tough to create. Well, maybe I'll do a little character work with it too. Well, plot, my God, there's nothing harder than plot. I'll just do a little plot work with it. Well, pretty soon, what's left of you? To me, what I love about this conference is that it's all about being a writing entrepreneur. And that means getting your unique story brand out to the world. And to me, this is the opposite of that. It is generic machine writing. It will be against your unique story brand.
All right, John, I really hope you come to my session at 3:30 because I'd love to show you. Now, my emotional thought on AI, let's go. All right, Gandalf showed up and said, we're taking the ring to Mordor. Professor Xavier showed up and said, you are a mutant and you get to go to the school for gifted and talented. So are you answering the call? How many of us answered the call for self-publishing when it first came out and people told us no? People told us there was shame in self-publishing, that you need to have, what was that word? Validation, I think it was, something like that. Meanwhile, many of us were paying our bills with it. So I see artificial intelligence as a great equalizer in the playing field. Many of my students have disabilities or they have chronic health issues. I'm not going to ask in this room who's got issues with chronic health, okay, because everybody's hand would be up, exactly. Writing with AI is a thrill. I'll agree with you that it is kind of exhilarating. It's like creative writing classes all over again because you get a lot of output and you have to be the senior writing partner and you have to say, that pacing's off, or these are some cliche words, or that characterization is off. You better be a good writer when you come to the AI because that's what's going to make you a better writer. So the AI is not going to write better than you, but you could be a better writer with AI.
So agree with basically everything that John and Elizabeth said. I come from a slightly different background. So I've spent a career, my professional career has been as a marketing director in technology companies. And so AI is the lifeblood of what is going on. Nobody in the corporation is sitting there going, should I get AI to write my press release or not? And the person who says, oh, it's going to put you out of a job, it's like they didn't write press releases for 20 years. I did. It sucks. There is some stuff. AI, getting a little off of the creative side of it, AI is going to change every aspect of your life, from your refrigerator to your day job. Jobs that we do today won't exist later on. But I don't think that's the case with being an author. I think, and I've written books with AI assisted, I've done AI generated, and I've done 40 books before that without AI. You can't go into AI without some craft and capabilities, without making a mess and just getting lost, exactly like John was saying. You can totally get lost in the output. So I think, I'm all for it, but I think it is a unique process. It's a tool that we use with our own process, with whatever synchronicities work for you. And I think that you only discover that by looking and taking a little bit and trying it a little bit and figuring out what works for you in your system.
Right. I'm sorry, I like to see the back of the room. I feel like we should all be standing up. Hello. No, okay, so I have felt constrained for many years. I don't know about you, but as a creative person, I have felt constrained. First of all, I was constrained by what was the publishing industry, and we reinvented that. We became independent, and now we're almost reinventing independence through selling direct and all the things we're doing. Creatively, I have been constrained by my ability through time, and also even things like artistic ability, through just everything I want to do. And for me, AI, it's not artificial, it's amplified. It is amplifying me. I have so many ideas. How about you? Right? We are creative people. We cannot contain the amount of creativity we have. And what this allows us to do, I feel like suddenly I might not die with everything still inside me. I might actually be able to achieve what I want to in my life because I have this massive lever that's going to enable me to create what I want to. And yes, there are some people with disabilities and problems. I'm very lucky, and I don't have a lot of those things, but this is a lever for me and for you to create everything you want to. So I have goosebumps talking about this, and have done for years, because I see this as I can do it all now. And that's so exciting. And you know what we do. We bring our stories to our readers. We change people's lives with our words. We are writers. I care deeply about this, and John and I have connected. We care deeply about the craft. I am not just pressing a button, outputting. I have the vision, and this is helping me achieve it. So I'm hell of emotional about this. You got this? Right? I deeply care about my creative work, and this will help me do a much better job. And I hope that helps you as well, and I hope every one of you and everyone we spread this to achieves their creative goals and reaches other people. And that's why Michael and I bonded over it, and now he's going to tell you his vision.
Uh-oh. So there was a little bit of a flame war back in April when I said, in December, when ChatGPT came out, November 30th, a couple of days later, I'm in Cabo, which is where we normally are, and I realized I had to redo my whole business. I had to restructure everything, because eventually, even though we were one of arguably the premier indie publishing companies possibly in the world, 3 guys in a garage with the right foundation model is going to compete against me, period. Dot. So I have to be willing to look at it. Now, there are some other things that come in. I have employees, people who work for us, work with us. And the situation is, I got to make sure that whatever I do, I made a decision that I'm not firing anyone over this. I merely said, look, we're going to go to 10,000 books with no one added extra. Is that possible? I don't know. I have no idea. But by stating that, I created a goal that forced me to think through all the aspects of what goes on as we as publishers. I know that there's, back in the day, there were titans of industry, and they handled everything from the coal to the consumer. They dug it out of the ground, they put it in their hands. We potentially have the future of a single human being the person. They are the creative director, all the way to the distribution person. You will have that ability. If you choose not to take it up, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with not doing that. There's always an opportunity for the bespoke indie author. Their ability to do things is going to supersede AI because they're a human being. We connect with other human beings. If you like social media, I do not. God bless you. You have advantage over me. Period. I just have to admit that if I'm not willing to do it, then I can't get upset with someone who is doing it. And doing it well, all you romance ladies out there. So we come back and take a look at it. I personally believe, and I have before ChatGPT came out, that a lot of the training for literature and for writing at the college level has nothing to do with people being successful, because they look at fine literature, not selling literature, fine literature. That is a subjective opinion. Well, everything that needs to go on, if anyone wishes to teach AI, and they need to completely rethink this, there are not going to be fewer students and writers in the future. There's a phrase said, everyone has a story in them. Many of them can't write to get it out. I'm not going to block them by taking away a tool that could help them get a story out. That's my position on this. Whether I use it and how I use it, that's irrelevant to you. But I just refuse to say you can or can't. And I will say, obviously, if you just ask me my opinion, I am going to use it. Because I am the person who has a shitload of stories that I can produce, and I know how to do it. And so I will do it. But I've been very honest for 7 years. I want to make stories, create stories that people want to reread. That's a quality statement. That's an emotional connection with my story statement, and make money. Ergo, 20 books creation to $50,000 a year. It's in that small phrase. I'm being very honest with how I've been the whole time. And I see this as a situation where I couldn't stop it if I wanted to. There was a situation that came out not that many weeks ago where there was a database of authors who were pulled into a particular large language model. Do y'all know about this? You could check, your author. I was told by a third party, I think Craig told me, I'm not in it. And I'm like, here's my one-word succinct statement. Fuck. Why? Why would I want to be in that? Because it means it knows how I write already, and I don't have to pay a large sum of money to train it. I'm like, son of a bitch. I don't care, but that's just me. There are a lot of people who emotionally and monetarily, to John's point, care, and they have a fight. And I wish them the best on this. I don't know what the results will be, but it will be something. And that's where I stand on this. So we're going to go, Bug, you said 2016. I didn't start looking at any of this since GPT-2. So 2016 is way before that. What first started getting you into that? And then we'll come back down and I'll ask each of you, when did you first see it? And then I want John, because you are the dissenter here. You're the other voice of side of reason. We don't disrespect anything, but I really want you to be able to say a little bit, although it sounds like John's totally willing to take up the rest of the time.
Yeah, so it was 2016 when AlphaGo beat Lisa Doll at the game of Go. Who also remembers that? Yeah, so that moment, Lisa Doll, there's a documentary on Netflix, you can watch it. It was the first creative move. It reinvented a game that no one thought could be reinvented, and everyone was like, it's Move 37. This ancient game, the machine beat the human, and Lee Sedol's face, he's broken. But then it reinvented the game. If you look at Go now, it's come on so far. It's incredible. So it's exciting. But then what happened is I started interviewing people about it, and this is the earlier days, obviously. And but the word creative is what caught my eye. But I've been reading Wired magazine for decades, you know, and Kevin Kelly and all of that. So, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's going to come into our domain next. And that excited me. So yeah, that was when, and many people here, that was also when the world took notice. Also, by the way, Americans, that's when China said they would win. They would basically be #1 in the world in AI by 2035. That is why the US is not going to stop this. There is no way the USA, and I'm a big fan of your country, is going to let China win this. So that's another reason. We embrace this because this ain't going back in the box.
So because of my history in technology, I work at NASA, Northrop Grumman, and Hewlett Packard. AI has been in my life and in my career with machine learning for, 10 years or so. It's been really clear to me that things are going to change dramatically, and it's kind of like the first time you ever saw a CD. It was like, they're getting rid of records. Some of us in the room remember that. And so it started to make it really clear to me. It wasn't until I saw ChatGPT where and I was literally like in a bar, and somebody showed me what it did, and I just stopped. I quit my job. I was like, there's no need for a marketer anymore. You don't need a marketing director. It's going to be taken away in the way that it's been done up until now. But I also, I moved into technology during the .com era. And so I'm a big believer in technology as a way to move humanity forward. And I believe in the creativity of technology. And so just in terms of, one thing I'd like to say is during the .com era, 1 million different .com sites came up, and 100 survived. We're going to see that with AI also. So one thing that I really focus on is one tool or two tools. I don't focus on a lot of tools because it's going to change so rapidly in the next 6 to 12 months that you've got to get versed in the tool, in a tool. You've got to get versed in what it can do, and then everything else will fall into place and things will fall out.
I'm more tactical. How many of y'all played with dictation at all since like 2014 and everything? Yeah. So that was actually my first foray into kind of the underlying technology that we have now with ChatGPT, which is the natural language processing. So if you've ever dictated with Dragon, for example, and I did a post in 2014 on K-boards of all places about how to train your Dragon, when it listens to the MP3 file, it actually doesn't know the exact words you say. It predicts it based on the words that are around it. And that was the earliest technology. How many of y'all text people and it predicts what word you're going to text next? Y'all been playing with AI for a really long time. In 2021, though, specifically for this generation of actually with my writing, I dictated from 2014 to 2021. I was in a Zoom call with Christine Breen and Karen Brown, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like writing right now. Just over it. And Christine goes, I'm going to pseudo-write. And I thought it was P-S-E-U-D-O, W-R-I-T-E. And I was like, what is this fake writing that you talk about? And no, it's S-U-D-O, W-R-I-T-E, which many of you might know. And sudo comes from the Linux operating system, for those who don't know. And I started with pseudo-write, and I started with just simple descriptions. I have to write ballroom scenes. I can't say ball scenes. I've learned that. I have to say ballroom scenes. So I'm...
What genre is that?
It's Mr. Darcy's Balls.
Never ask a romance author. Never ask.
So, how many of you will have to write the same scene over and over and over again in your genre? Yep. And you're like, how many different ways can I describe this? Well, I asked Sudowrite to help me with a description of the Meriton Assembly, and it specifically said tobacco, the tobacco. I live in such a tobacco-free society, I totally forgot that they had tobacco in 1812. Like, I never put it in my books. And so I published that book, and I have a mentor of mine, many of us have mentors, and he's a New York Times bestselling author, and he follows my career. And he called me up, he's like, girl, your book, I just read the first page, you had me, I could feel it in my throat. And I was like, that wasn't me, that was the robot. But it wasn't just the robot, it was me with the robot. And that's why I look at this as like superpowers that have come. So, and time travel, you can time travel.
So is the question, when did I first?
Well, when you first really, yes, when you learned it and your emotional reaction to it.
Well, I've been hearing about it for years. My first really got engaged about it was with the Writers Guild strike. Writers Guild and the Authors Guild are vehemently opposed to this because they believe, I believe rightly, that this is going to hurt their jobs. And there was a very long writers' strike which was successfully won by the writers, and one of the main things they got was that AI was not considered writing material, original writing material. Let me just read to you what it says. The WGA, AI-generated written material is not considered literary material, source material, or assigned material under the MBA. AI is not a writer under the MBA. You can call what you do with a robot anything you want, and maybe it's really so much more fun to write that way. I don't deny that. But is that really what you want to do with your unique story brand? To me, what makes you able to get into the top 1% of writers in this world is if you have a unique story brand. I would certainly venture to say that Michael's, one of the reasons he is cutting edge in this world is that he is known for a unique story brand which he has brilliantly been able to expand. But it is Michael Anderle. We all know it, right? How are you going to establish yourself as a unique individual original voice when you're using generic writing? That is by definition what AI is. Another person who is very cutting edge like Michael is Craig Martell. Craig Martell, in all of his newest books, has this on the book blurb. Quote, no part of this book was written by AI. A human author continues to fight the good fight. And what Craig is doing is very pioneering, because I believe that within 2 years, authors all over Amazon are going to have a guarantee of originality posted on that book that says AI was not used in writing any part of this book. And if you don't have that on your book, a lot of readers, not all of them, but a lot of readers are not going to read it.
My turn. We'll come back to, here's a couple of things. One, I don't care about the WGA. They're not relevant to me. I really don't give a shit. So for whatever they do is not relevant to me. But here's the other thing. I think, similar to what's going on, the biggest of the big corporate movie creation companies are going to go down. Why? Because they're not hamstrung with different legal things allowing them to do or not to do anything. And you're going to have the small indie people who are going to create movies using advanced AI tools to do special effects that used to cost $100,000 to do.
This is not a screenwriting conference. So we need to be very clear. This is not a screenwriting conference. No, I know, but the people in this room want to hear about their life and their jobs.
Yes.
Not about screenwriters. Can I also just say that Amazon is now a shareholder of Anthropic, who make Claude, which is the model that many of us use. So Amazon is very pro AI, and of course this week announced AI audio. So yeah, that's important to know.
Actually, that takes me to something. I can't stand Anthropic's Claude.
We love it.
That's my boyfriend. That's my AI boyfriend.
I asked it one time. I'm like, it wouldn't ever give me a. It's like, would you like to talk about morality? I'm like, no.
You weren't nice to him.
I apparently don't understand how romance ladies talk to Claude.
Michael, can I just say too, I came out to my readers over a year ago. I know it sounds so weird. I came out to my readers. They cared about two things, because at the time I was getting roasted on social media. And can we stop that, by the way? Can we stop that? And they cared about two things. They said, number one, will you write faster? And I said, yes. And they said, number two, who's bothering you? Can you give us names? And I did not give names. But truthfully, we all have the same problem after we publish a book. And our readers say, where's the next one? And it is always going to take more time to write a book, even with AI, even because you have to validate it. I 100% say you have to validate every single word. It is longer to do that than it takes to read these wonderful worlds that we create.
I just want to add one thing about creativity and telling your story. So when I teach courses, I often write a book during the teaching of the course, or I brainstorm a book. And I've had this literary book. Now, I am a romance writer, but I've had a literary book in my head, and it's about my mother's childhood of 8 years in a prisoner of war camp in Indonesia. And that was such a big and hard idea of how do I put that all together. I know her stories. I don't know the history. I don't know the war timelines. ChatGPT does. And it didn't plot the book out for me. It can't tell me my mother's stories, but it can be my aid, and it can help me tell me what was relevant during World War II when she was held in prison by the Japanese and then later by the Indonesians. And that's the kind of stories that we can tell that are unique to ourselves and unique to our perspective. No one else is going to write that book ever except for me, and I really love that I can use AI to help me put that together, because I may never be able to do it on my own.
So let's ask this question. What technology do you use? Since we just talked about the Anthropic in my...
All of them. So I use every not safe for work model out there. Right now, I'm in love with Mythomax. I love some Mistral. I just played with some Zephyr this morning. Claude, ChatGPT, but that's my jam. I love to innovate with this stuff and create, and I'm doing a lot of work on sequencing prompts and how the heck do we get it to keep memory. With Rexy, we've been experimenting with things of like mega prompting and bringing in how do you make a plan to take all this information, make a plan, and then write it. And Claude does really well with that. So I'll show you how to work with Claude.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT Pro, but mainly for other things, like just strategy and marketing and financial planning and a whole load of like nonfiction life stuff. And then I use Claude at the moment for a lot of story stuff, because I find it a more creative model. I feel like I have more in common with Claude. But equally, I did want to point out that it's also very important to think about the publishing model. So I do 2 books a year and a short story. Next year, I'm also only planning to do a couple of Kickstarters. So this doesn't need to be high volume publishing. As much as I respect Michael's model, that's not my model. I love Midjourney. I'm totally addicted to Midjourney, and I'm moving much more into Pinterest as a SEO search engine for visuals. If you listen to my podcast this week, I talk a lot about this. So I'm just getting so much joy from Midjourney. And yeah, but I use Claude for kind of the writing aspect. But mainly, like I said, I've put out 1 short story, 1 novella, and my nonfiction book, Writing the Shadow, the cover is AI, but the words are not, because that wasn't the type of book that I needed to use it for. So again, you have to account for the fact that everyone uses these things in different ways, using different tools in different ways. And so yeah, it's not even it doesn't have to be one size fits all. It's all kinds of things.
Right, and I think that's why we want to learn as much as you can tolerate. Don't forget there's a million new apps out there, and Elizabeth is like, she's got a big toolbox. I have played with all the tools. I go to ChatGPT, I use ProWriter Aid, I use Grammarly, and then what I found for me is I use this crappy little app on my phone that no one's ever heard of. It's called Write On, And I end up taking a lot of the stories that I do, that I build the outlines with. And if you can see that, right? So there's a whole lot of green stories, but each one I dictate my novels. So the actual writing of the book, I'm still going back to dictation, because that is the fastest way. I don't get lost in the stream that comes out of ChatGPT. Write On is a dictation app. It tracks your chapters, your word counts, and your projects. I've been writing in Write On for 7 years. And after I wrote a few books with ChatGPT, I wanted to go back to dictation after I did the outline. Oh, and I use OneNote. OneNote is my secret sauce for how I take it from ChatGPT and organize all the output.
In spite of what you might think, I am not a Luddite. I am a huge fan of using the computer to increase the productivity of storytelling. I do not use AI in any way, shape, or form.
You use Amazon, John.
However, I created a story development software 25 years ago, which is non-AI, but it is to help writers create their stories and improve their stories and write them in a fraction of time. This software is called Blockbuster, and I urge you to go to my website at truby.com and check it out. This is a way that you can increase your productivity and be more original, not less original, by having, the model is different. It is not taking what all these other writers have done, stealing it, and my book has been stolen. The Anatomy of Story has been stolen by AI, so I'm not real happy about that. But it takes it, and the way it helps writers is as a story coach. It says, these are the questions you want to ask yourself to bring out what is unique about your story, so you can still tell the genre story. We all live in a genre world. You have to hit the genre, but you don't have to do it the way everyone else does it. In my opinion, that is the trick to creating your story brand. That is the way that you do a genre that thousands of other writers are writing, and those are your true competitors, but you do that genre in a way that only you can do. To me, that makes all the difference in the world, and that is a huge difference.
So I'm going to start with Elizabeth real quick. As succinctly as you can, you got about 2 minutes.
I've been pretty short.
What is your methodology for creating a story? Is it punch a button, get a book, or what is it?
So I am working on punch a button and get a book, because I have had lunch with the machine learning engineers that are on staff at Penguin Random House. And if you think that they're not using generative AI, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. I am adamant that we will have that technology first, and I will work with whoever I need to in order to make sure that that's a reality, that we're not cut out of that. But for the most part, I write live on YouTube on Fridays so people can see me. I create all of my elements, such as characters, the plot, and all of that. And then I have specific mega prompting that I run through, and I go scene by scene. And each scene, I'm validating that scene. I am going, okay, yes, this, no, that. And I use Notion. Everything writes to Notion with Rexy, so I don't have to copy and paste, thank God. And then Notion actually has a lot of AI built into it, too, that you can use. And we now have a system where you just throw it in that database, and you click the button, and it'll give me the list of characters, and it'll give me the plot points. So I do look like a systematized robot. It's not because I don't love writing or I don't love creating. It's because now I can explore everything, and I don't want to miss a second.
So I do a lot of brainstorming in ChatGPT, and something that I think is super important about this, and it's been my experience, is that as I'm reading the output from ChatGPT, my brain is firing. There's something going on there that is between my brainstorming buddy, ChatGPT, and what's going on in my head. And new creativity evolves from that, and what I usually select is the third point somewhere up here that I wouldn't have thought of had I not been using AI as a storytelling buddy. I have always been an oral storyteller. So after I do a lot of the outlining in ChatGPT, and I do pull it out, I don't try to force ChatGPT to give me the perfect outline. I take it out and I use all the craft skills that I learned from John Truby who's amazing, and I've got your book and your app. But I take that, and then I like to do an overview of the chapter, and then I walk and I talk into my phone, and that's how I end up writing my books. And it's such a meditative process for me. But without ChatGPT, I wouldn't have all the outlines that make it mean that I can do 3 or 4 chapters new a day.
And I'm a discovery writer, and I'm completely all over the place. And I've heard people say about Michael that it's so amazing to get on the phone with Michael, and he really helps you with your ideas. I'm such a lone ranger. I do not get on the phone with anyone and do that. I love doing it myself, but now Claude is basically that for me.
Oh, so you have a boyfriend.
I do. Claude's my boyfriend too. No, but basically, so I'll be like, so I've got an idea that what is buried under the foundations of this 18th century zoo, right? So I'll go to Claude and I'll be like, give me a list of 25 things that an 18th century zoo might have that I don't know about. And oh, by the way, my character's father was a botanist in the 18th century. What might he have brought back to the zoo? Give me a list of 25 things, and he'll give me a list, and I'll be like, oh, do you know what? That sounds cool. What could be really occulty that could be buried under the zoo? And what kind of animals did they used to sacrifice and bury under the things to bring good luck to stuff in like the Assyrian culture? And so literally this is what I do, and so then I'll write it in my analog notebook. You know, I've got it here. So I'll write down ideas, and then so basically this is why I only do like 1 short story a year. It's because it's just an ideation fun thing for me, and it helps me just come up with better ideas. I am more original with my AI partner than I would be alone, and it's also, I'm having more fun than I've ever had doing this, because I was getting pretty lonely, and now I don't have to bother you, Michael.
You told me back in 2017 you had no interest in it. You're consistent, very consistent. So let me talk a little bit about like one of the aha moments for me last weekend. Even though I kind of knew this, I had seen somebody talk about it before. In LMBPN, and we have a new company. LMBPN is predominantly human. That's its purpose. The new company is going to be AI. That's a separation there that we're doing. So from that, though, I wanted to actually talk about space marine as a subgenre. Now, I'm not ex-military. I really don't understand that. But I was able to create a prompt, and that'll be my last question for everyone who'd be willing to share. I created a prompt that basically said, your name is Charles. Your job is acquisition editor for space marine subgenre of fiction writing. I would like you to tell me and have a conversation with me about trying to pick out really good ideas and why they're good ideas within this subgenre that I've read but not read a lot. And then I had a back and forth conversation with Charles, and I called him Charlie. Hey, Charlie, why would you say this is true? And we go from there. So, with that, I think that there's a lot of opportunities that have zero to writing your book, and yet a lot of aspects of our business, which is what 20Books is about, the business, and I'm going to use them, And so we have a minute 30. I'm going to let John pass this one because I know there will be no answer. He is consistent. And real quick, before we leave, I'm going to say, hey, thank you for everyone for being considerate to everyone's and respectful of everyone's opinion on this prompt.
What do you mean prompt? Like, what's my favorite?
Give out a cool prompt
okay,
to somebody.
A really quick, good prompt. Ask for chapter types for your genre. Ask for a list of chapter types, then ask it to give you an outline. This is a chain of thought prompting mechanism, and if you get a chapter type, all of our genres have specific chapter types, and the AI understands that. And basically, you're going to get a much richer outline immediately to start bringing your special sauce to really get you going. So chapter types.
I use it for market research, and you want to not only do what are the top 10 books in my genre, who are the types of people that are reading these books, and then you get a user profile. You find out what they like to read in their books. You find out where they're reading this information in their books, and you can use all of that information as you craft the plot for your next book.
I already gave a prompt, but I actually want the other people in the room who know what they're doing. Can you guys stand up? You know who you are. James, Steph. Just stand up, because we don't want all the questions. Yeah, people who are willing to answer questions on AI, please stand up. These people know what they're doing. So please ask them, not just us. Yeah. Jay Thorne, come on.
And
Jay
we're
Thorne.
on.
Yeah.